Hi to everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and we're going to be touching the subject of Tibetan singing bowls. And I see that the sound and vision is good, and I'm happy about that because in prayers today I didn't really get a chance to be on right away, so I'm glad that I have this time with you. I have a lot of bowls here, and first, before I even go on and say anything else, I just want to tell you that myself and Sister Elizabeth have spent several years learning about Tibetan singing bowls from a well-known teacher by the name of Mich Noor, and actually that's kind of like his stage name. His real name is Robert Michener, and he is related to the Michener that we all know and love that has written many of the novels. So he is related to him. And he has spent really a lifetime, 40-some years or more, actually studying singing bowls and living in Nepal and, living in places like that and, talking to a lot of people. He has a lot of contacts like Brother Sean does. And he has a lot of people that really look to him as a master singing bowl teacher. And so we were with him pretty much at the beginning when he started to teach, but he was doing a lot more before that. He has a lot of contacts in Nepal, a lot of really good friends. We were also taught, just to give you a background, we were also taught by a lot of Tibetan lamas about singing bowls and other things, and we were actually involved in Buddhism, but of the Bon lineage, which is spelled B-O-N. I'll just put that on here. B-O-N, lineage, okay? And that is a shamanistic Buddhism, okay, that predates the Buddhism that we all know and love that you see most people practicing. It's the original Tibetan Buddhism. So I'm just reading some of the things that are on the chat board. I think it's kind of funny to read some of the things that people say. So before we do anything, we're going to just, I'm not going to have a formal prayer here, but I'm going to have a prayer coming from the heart regarding peace. Now, many people regard Buddhism as one of the religions that is essentially the epitome of peace. And so we're going to invite the Buddha to just give a blessing, okay, on everything that we're doing today and try to give us insight as to maybe what singing bowls can do for us in our everyday lives. And so we're going to ask for Buddha's blessing today, and that maybe through our studies we might actually affect some peace in our own lives and therefore peace in the world. So, and hello to everybody today, all of you that are logged in. I see you chatting along here, which is lovely, and all of you who are not logged in. Now, I got to give you a history about the singing bowls, and first, before I do anything, I have a number of bowls here, okay? And these are some of the bowls that I have, okay? I just want to show you what we're actually talking about, okay? A regular Tibetan singing bowl. And there are some singing bowls that are made in India, which are lovely for meditation and all, which I'll get into that later. But the ones that you want to use to bring about relaxation and bring about healing effects, okay, for the body to actually heal itself, are the ones that are made in Tibet, okay? All right. And they're all different shapes and sizes. I know that Brother Sean has one that is pretty large. I unfortunately don't have a real large one, but I do have one that is fairly large. It's about this, big across, and it's one of my prized possessions. So I just want to talk to you then again about the singing bowls and where they came from, or at least where we think they came from, because most of the ideas about singing bowls are actually handed down by word of mouth. So they're passed on from generation to generation about what the techniques were for making them, etc. And really, most of the techniques have been lost in antiquity. So we just have like a vague idea about how these bowls were made. But as I said, bone Buddhism is a shamanistic Buddhism, and there were many shamans in Tibet at the time that were of the bone lineage. And when a person would get sick, of course, they would be in a village, and their families and whoever maybe would be the person in the village, maybe the shaman of the village or whatever, would first try to treat them with herbs and really good pure water. And if that didn't bring the person out of their sickness entirely, then we would have the making of a singing bowl for that person. And what basically the shaman would do, it would either be the shaman in the village or maybe a shaman in a neighboring village who was pretty adept at singing bowls, or maybe a shaman that would pass through. And by the way, all of these shamans are women. Okay, so we're not talking about male shamans here, we're talking about female shamans in the bone Buddhism lineage. Now today there are male shamans, but at that time they were female. And so what they would do is they would come into the home of the sick person, and they would look at the sick person, and they would look at all of their bodily fluids and what they smelled like, and look at their eyes, what they look like, their hair, and all of that. And then they would make a decision as to what should happen next. Now, if they made the decision that the person could possibly be healed by a singing bowl, then what they would do is they would actually go and either make the bowl themselves, or they would have a bowl maker make one of these bowls. And how they would make them basically is, first of all, they would make them out of various metals. There's no bowl, okay, that is just one metal. And there's no bowl, bowls are not just 7 metals. You might see that somewhere where it says that the bowls are all made of 7 metals. That's not true either. They're made of anything from 3 to 7 metals. And I don't think there's any made of 2 metals. But if somebody out there knows of any that are made like that, then, feel free to chime in on the chat board and let us know. So anyway, they're going to make a bowl specifically for a person who is ill. It's specifically for them. So what they're going to do after they look at this person and they study them and see what they need, they're also going to look at the aspects in the sky at the time. They're going to see where the planets are. They're going to see, where Saturn is, where Mercury is, etc. And based upon that, they're going to decide how many metals they're going to use in regards to the configuration of the planets in the sky. And we all know that certain metals pertain to certain planets. Okay, like we know that the sun, the metal that pertains to the sun is gold. So the shamans would have their little secret hiding places where they would be able to get various veins of silver and copper and nickel and meteorite or whatever, because there are some bowls that contain meteorite. And they would go and they would make a bowl containing anywhere from 3 to 7 different elements. And they would decide which planets and which elements would be most beneficial in the healing process of this person. So what you would really do, in essence, is every planet has a certain vibration. They say that the Earth vibrates at, I think it's 7.83 hertz. And they also say that the other planets have a certain vibration. So what you're basically doing is you're creating a bowl that kind of imitates that vibration, and it actually causes all the water in the person's cells, in the sick person's cells, to vibrate in what they call entrainment to the bowl's sound. And by doing that, since the bowl is a perfect sound, you're going to have the cells individually heal and therefore affect a healing in that person. Okay, so you have the bowl and you make it. And how they would make it basically is they would get all their ores, they would bring it down, and either, as I said, a bowl maker would make the bowl or they would make it themselves. And so they would smelt all the ores together. And as they were smelting the ore, and they had huge furnaces and they were heating all this ore up, they would also chant into the ore and then into the bowl itself all different types of healing chants. So they would take the metal while it was still pliable and put it over, let's say, a round type rock, and then hammer it while it's getting hard. And as they're doing that, they would be like chanting and doing all that inside of these bowls. Okay, so that the bowl would not only have the benefit of all of the metals and all the healing properties of the metals and the sound that the metals make, which would be related to the planets, but it also would have the benefit of all of the expertise that the shaman knows of healing, all kinds of healing chants, and that's what the shaman would put into these bowls. So the shaman's hammering away and finally makes this bowl. Now, when they finally make the bowl, I'm sorry, I'm going to be drinking some coffee to the side too. When they finally make the bowl, okay, what they do is they would take the bowl and they would actually either play it on the person. They might put it on the area, like actually on the person's body, okay, like right here. You could put it anywhere. They could put it on the shoulder. You could put it anywhere that the person needs healing or where they thought that they would need specific healing. And then what they might do is they might just take a stick, okay, and then they would just hit the bowl over the person. And you hear that sound that just kind of goes off into the distance. And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a sound that is real short, but we're looking for a sound that travels. A sound that's going to actually penetrate the body and go deep down into the body. I'm sure you can all hear that. Okay, so they're going to do this. They're going to either do that with this singing bowl, or what they might do is they might play the singing bowl. Mine's not playing very well, but let me get another one for you. Sometimes it's funny with bowls. They become silent and then they kind of awaken again. There we go. I don't know if you can hear that. So they might actually play the ball on somebody like that, going around and around and around. Okay, and I'm sure when they're doing that, they're chanting and doing whatever else that they need to do in order to effect a cure in the person. Okay, so that's how the shamans did it of old. Now we actually can come up to today also and talk about how people do it today. They do it much the same way. Actually, Sister Elizabeth did this more so than myself, but I've done it also. And that is that what we actually would do is do the same type of a healing on somebody, or same type of a treatment to facilitate healing as these shamans did from years ago. And that would be to play the bowl or to just hit the bowl or tap it, okay, on an individual. What you can also do, and I've seen this done many times, some people work with different, like maybe 10 bowls around a person. And then what some people will do, as the person is lying on the floor, or if they're lying on the table with an extension on either side, like I'm sure a lot of you have seen Reiki tables and massage tables, and they would put like a bowl on this side, they would put another bowl on that side, and they would put a bowl above the head. Okay. All right, so they'd have 3 bowls. And what they would basically do is they would tap the bowls. And a lot of these bowls are synchronized Like they might be synchronized in a certain scale. So you might have like, let me do this. Kind of hard to do it with. That's a real deep bowl. Okay, and then you might have it come after that. Okay, and this is not a very good bowl for healing because it's very short in duration. Then you'd have this one. So they would constantly play that sometimes around a person's head, but it would be much more in tune than what I just told you now. And they would keep playing that. And I've seen many people actually go off to sleep because they had this sound around their head, and I've actually experienced it myself. And it's a beautiful sound because you hear the sound and as it's going away, but when you're laying there with the bowls like around your head, you can actually hear the sound going on more so than even what you hear like when we're listening now on the live stream channel. So it's a very interesting thing. And what I didn't tell you, and I'm going to tell you now, is that every bowl has what they call a Lee sound. Well, not every bowl. I should say the healing bowls, or the bowls that are made for healing, actually have what they call a Lee sound. That's L-I sound, which means that they contain all of the notes on the scale. They contain all of the notes. Okay, and they are excellent healing bowls. A person who is really a master bowl instructor like Mitch is, or somebody who's a master teacher of singing bowls, can actually really hear whether a bowl has a Lee sound or not. But they also have like tuning forks and various other things to see what note a particular bowl is. Like one might be a C sharp, one might be B, one might be A, whatever it happens to be. And it is believed that certain notes on the scale, okay, actually could heal certain things. Just for instance, you might say B could heal like gout or something like that, or C sharp could heal cancer, or whatever. So, a lot of times you could use the Lee sound, which is excellent for anything, to heal anything. But there are other times when maybe you want to get more specific. And that's really based on your experience and, what you know. And certainly the shamans of old knew exactly what to do, exactly what type of sound that they wanted. And that's the sound that they created to heal people. And as I said before, when you play the sound, it should go deep and within. It shouldn't be just something like this little bowl here that we have is a little bowl for meditation, which I'll talk about. And this is a nice little bowl to teach somebody with, to just kind of like, where did I get this? To kind of like hit it, to start maybe a meditation session for yourself and others. Sometimes you could just sit there and meditate, and you could just listen to the bowl and listen how it kind of fades away. But this is not a real good bowl to use for any kind of healing modality, because I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it is of a real short duration as far as the sound. It doesn't carry on and on and on. Whereas if you pick another bowl, I believe this one would be better, you can hear how that goes on and on and on as far as the sound. So something like that would be much more beneficial to affect healing in a person. Remember, this is just facilitating healing. Spirit actually heals, and we are just facilitators, and the bowls are facilitators of the healing. God has given us many things on earth. As we all know, Hildegard used stones and herbs, and so we can use bowls to actually heal somebody, facilitate their healing. So we start the process going where the cells respond to this pure sound and they start to heal themselves. So that is, it's just a wonderful thing. And I've seen people, if they haven't actually been healed per se, of injuries or whatever. You wouldn't use this in, like, say, a broken bone necessarily, but I'll get to that in a minute. You'd have to have the bone set first, obviously, by a doctor. But you might want to use it to facilitate the healing of the broken bone. And what I mean by that is, I have to tell you an experience. Sister Elizabeth, okay, had a broken foot, and had a broken foot a couple of times, but this was the first time she had the broken foot. And what happened with her is that the doctor wanted to actually, sorry, somebody's knocking on the door. Somebody actually wanted to possibly do surgery, and Elizabeth said that maybe, just give her a few moments and then she'll attempt to do something herself to facilitate healing. So what she did is she took on her leg, she couldn't get all the way down to where her foot was at the time, but she took it on her leg and she just every day meditated and tapped the bowl on her leg like that. Sometimes she played the bowl, okay, but most of the time this is what she did. And the doctor was going to actually give her some kind of, I don't know what they called it, an oscillator or something like that, that would actually send a vibration to the bone that would actually help it to heal quicker, because she's a diabetic and that was a concern. So actually Elizabeth was doing the same thing, using a bowl rather than using the oscillator or whatever it was, the vibrational instrument that the doctor wanted her to use. And actually her bone knit together ahead of time and was fine. There was no problem with it whatsoever. So you can use these bowls for things of that nature also. First and foremost, you should always consult your physician and always go to your doctor. But if you want to help along with whatever the doctor says, your own healing or even your own meditation or your own relaxation, you can always use these bowls, one of these bowls, for something of that nature. Now I just want to tell you about the different types of bowls that there are. There is the large bowls, which are called Jambati. I believe that's Jhambati. I'll just write that on the chat board. And they're very large bowls, okay? And they're just very large. And I'm going to I think this is how it's spelled. And they're beautiful bowls. They're really nice. I think that's what Brother Sean has, actually, is a Jambati bowl. And then what you also have is what they call a Tato body bowl, okay, which is shaped like this. It's kind of like a flat bottom, okay, and then it kind of like comes up the sides like this. It kind of comes inward. And it's a smaller bowl, and I'll just write what that is. It is a Tato body, Tato body bowl. Okay, and I hope I'm spelling these correctly. And the other thing that I wanted to show you was the Manipuri bowl. And the Manipuri bowls are great. They're actually, as you can see, they're very shallow. And they can come in all sizes. The ones that we have, okay, actually there's several bowls that sit into this. And you'll see in here that there's some oxidation in here, okay, because, in some of these you'll see green, and some will have a silver shine, and some will have a very gold color, okay. So you'll know that this is one with a very gold color. I don't know if you can see it really well in here. But you'll know that, it has maybe more gold in it than, like, say, this one, okay, that has, like, some oxidation there, and you would think would have some copper in it. Okay, so what you do is you just, back to the Manipuri bowls, and I'll write how that's spelled. You might have like several of these, which we do, that sit in each other. And these are great to have as a traveling bowl. So say a shaman, if they, weren't making up specific bowls for somebody, and they maybe wanted to do some quick treatment on someone as a preliminary before they actually, went and made that specific bowl for that person, they might use the Manipuri bowls because they are easily packed and they can just come right along with you. And you don't have to, they're heavy, but they're not as heavy, say, as a huge, gigantic Jambadi bowl, okay, which would be almost impossible. So let me write that down. Manipuri. I think it's Manupuri. I wrote the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Manupuri bowl. Okay, so we have those also, and they are they're really a delight to play. Also, they're just lovely. And how you play a bowl is you can have it on your fingers like this, or you can have it on your hand like this, on your fingers of your hand, because you're not trying to have a lot of surface, okay, of your hand when you hit it, because actually the whole surface of your hand would dull the sound. See, if I have this on my whole hand like this, it's still there, but it's still dulled. You can't really hear it, but it's really like a dulling sound. So another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I told you that the bowls are used for meditation, and whenever I use a bowl for meditation, I actually like to, let's see if I can get this to play for me. Yeah, there we go. I actually like to follow the sound of the bowl and to close my eyes and just kind of listen to that sound. And it will make a little ringing sound, okay, at times when you're going too fast. So it's one of those things where you have to learn the control of the bowl. You have to go slow. Sometimes you have to go fast. And that is like a meditation in and of itself, because you have to concentrate. Elizabeth and myself both taught a physician how to play the bowls, and taught a physician about the bowls. And this physician was actually, he was actually the head of all of the residents, and he was the department head of internal medicine. So he had all these residents underneath of him and interns. And what he was going to do is he was going to actually give them each a bowl. And he was going to actually have them, play the bowl, learn how to play it, and listen to it. Because he wanted them to really concentrate and listen to the nuances of the bowl. And he thought, okay, that by doing that, he would get them to actually look and observe patients better. So that was his theory with that. And he's in one of the hospitals here in Philadelphia, a rather big hospital. It is a big hospital, not a rather big hospital. It's like 500 beds or something. And so he came to learn the bowls for that purpose. So that was kind of fascinating what he was going to use the bowls for. And now we have a whole lot of different strikers, okay? But I just want to show you a few. And these are typical strikers that you'll see in Nepalese strikers, okay? They're carved at one end, and they're like this at the other end, okay? And these are actually excellent. These are made of ash wood. This one is a little bit different, okay? It's, like not carved at this end. And this is from use that you see the discoloration. But this ash wood is absolutely wonderful to use as a striker. We have another one here, okay, which is, I don't know what the wood is with this one. But there's all types of strikers that people use to make different sounds. People even make their own. I remember we made strikers using a cork and like a dowel through the cork, and then put some felt on the outside and use that as a striker because it emanated a different sound when the bowl was struck. So once you start actually working with the bowls and working with people and the bowls, you kind of get the idea of what you want and what you don't want. I mean, we have strikers that are large, okay, that we use. And this particular one, which is very interesting, you don't find this all the time. You see the red felt on here. This is actually, there's a little fuzz on there, actually monk's cloth. So the monks, the Tibetan Buddhist monks, actually wear this in their robes. They wear this kind of cloth. So they use this, okay, the little snippets of cloth that they have left, to actually put around a striker to use for the bowls. So that's, to me, very interesting, and I'm always really happy to have this little snippet of cloth from the Buddhist monks, who are so kind and generous in their teachings with us and others. So the other thing I wanted to show you, and you might see this, the bowls displayed like this. There's various ways of displaying them, and they're always displayed in an honorable position because they're instruments that are used for the benefit of humankind. They're instruments of compassion, and so they always have to be displayed in an honorable fashion. You know, you just don't kind of stack them like you would your dishes. So there's a cushion like this, okay, that they sit on. So you would have the bowl, use the little one, this is a little cushion, that would sit like that. Then you have another little one for the very littlest of bowls, and they come very small. You know, I like to sometimes show you the little tiny bowls that we have. And this one is like, it's kind of like a little, I call it like a little cushion or hassock. And the bowl sits right on top of that. Then here's another type of a bowl. I mean, not a bowl, but a display that actually one of our teachers, okay, Mitch's wife, who's since passed away, actually decided she was going to make these. And it's almost like, it's like a donut shape. Okay, and what happens with that is the bowl just sits like right on that. And with something like this, you can actually play the bowl because you don't have that, you know, cushion underneath that's deadening the sound. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is when you see bowls, you'll see every one of them that's made in Nepal will have a little thing on them, a little tag, I don't know if you can see it here, which says made in Nepal. Okay, so everything that comes out of Nepal, at least it did before the earthquake, God forbid, it was always something that had a little sign said made in Nepal. The other thing I want to tell you about too is you will see on various bowls various designs. Now this one you can barely see, but it's like there's circles in the center. You can barely see it on live stream. And they're like concentric circles. Then you will see some other bowls that will have these little, like, let me see if I could show you here. They're like little dots, like all the way around, that are like hammered in. Okay, and they're really indicative of Nepalese bowls. We also have a Nepalese bowl that actually has a very old Sanskrit writing, or Tibetan writing, I should say, on it, that really nobody could even decipher. They went and showed the monks, and they couldn't. It's really, really ancient. So some of the monks looked at it, and they couldn't really decipher what it meant. And that is a lovely bowl. It's mostly silver, and it is a bowl that used to, believe it or not, emanate jasmine when played. So, you know, there's a lot of stories about these bowls, and all I can tell you is what I know from my own fact. It emanated the scent of jasmine. And another bowl that I don't have here, but I like to show you sometime also, I couldn't actually find this bowl, but it's a bowl that is usually pretty small, and then it has like a little kind of shape down here, okay, and that is like what they call an altar bowl, okay, and actually what they do sometimes with that, in addition to using it as a singing bowl, they place offerings within that bowl, okay, to various gods and goddesses. So that's a little bit about these bowls. I wanted to show you the last cushion. I didn't show you this. It's a Bhutanese, Bhutanese cushion, okay? And this is a typical Bhutanese style, okay? They do a lot of this kind of cloth work, okay? And that's what it looks like. And so your bowl would just kind of like sit right on there like that, okay? And that's how you would display your bowl. So it's really nice to give honor to the bowls that you're using and to, you know, actually display them like that instead of just kind of stacking them up somewhere. So as I said, you can use the bowls for many different things. You can use them for healing. You can use them for meditation. You can use them to start ceremonies. Sometimes people use them for yoga practice. It always amazes me that this little bowl has such a deep sound. There's this really tiny little bowl that I have too, a real small little one, that actually, like, how should I say, maybe like 2 to 3 inches in diameter, that actually when you hit it, it has a magnificent sound for a little bowl. And there is a woman that we know of who works in New York using these little bowls. She tries to get every little bowl she can possibly find. And certainly now with the way Nepal is, there won't be any influx into this country, certainly with Himalayan singing bowls. So, you know, because everything is so topsy-turvy there. But anyway, she used to use these little bowls, and she used to actually do some work with women that came out of prison and were trying to reestablish their lives. And she would, you know, have them play these little bowls. I don't know why the littleness of it was particularly good for her. I can't remember exactly what she said in regards to that. But as I said, there are people that are using these bowls all over for various things. And, you know, you can go to a person nowadays and you can get a Tibetan bowl treatment. And, you know, what they're going to do is they're going to decide what they're going to do for you really by intuition, by experience. What they're going to do for you as far as where they're going to place the bowls, how many bowls they're going to use. You know, everybody has their favorite bowls that they use. They all have unique sounds. They're all different. Even the ones that are of the same, say, C sharp or B, they sound a little bit different because, you know, they either resonate that sound at a higher frequency or a lower frequency, you know. So it depends. There'll be all kinds of different ways that a person will use the bowls. And they're actually, what they actually do is they actually are finding newer ways every day to use these ancient instruments. I just want to play you something here. This is called 33 Bowls, and it's a recording of Tibetan singing bowls. So I'm going to try to see if I can have you listen to this. And anybody who's making a recording is going to use very, very good bowls. Not saying that the ones in India are not good. They just have to be used for different purposes. They could be used for playing, you know, like in concert, but they're never used, or very infrequently used, I should say, very infrequently used for any kind of healing purpose. Nobody I know would actually use a bowl from India, only because it doesn't have that good quality sound. It's mass produced usually in a factory, and it doesn't have that kind of sound that you want in a bowl. So I guess that's basically it. I can't think of anything else I can tell you right now about the bowls. I just want to thank you for being here today. I'm glad so many of you joined me. And I'll be here again next week. I'll also be here on Wednesday. And Sister Elizabeth is going to be here tomorrow. If she cannot be here, because she is going through a lot of stuff right now as far as her back and seeing acupuncturists, etc., I'll be here for meditation, okay? And as I said, our house is getting kind of redone all over like Brother Sean's is. So anyway, there will be either one of us here tomorrow at 8 o'clock GMT, or what is it, 3 o'clock, I forgot what time, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard. So thank you so much for being here, and of course, as usual, God bless you all, and namaste.